We're here at Cinder, broadcasting live, Facebook Live, and we're in the barrel room. So if we start to turn blue, it's because we're protecting the wine here.
We need to make sure that these babies stay cold. It's not about us, it's about the wine.
Yeah. So this is me, Melanie Krause, the winemaker here at Cinder, and Donna Bellotti Davies, our superstar, one of our superstars in the tasting room. And today we're going to be tasting library wines.
Yeah.
And they're all part of the Cab Merlot, Evolve to Cab Merlot Malbec, Evolve to Valentina program. So hopefully you guys are home enjoying a glass of one of these wines with us. If not, open anything. And please throw in questions to our discussion online. We'd love to talk and have actual questions from people. But we've got plenty of talking points to go over because library wines are so exciting.
So exciting, yeah. Brand new program here, so yeah, we're jazzed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we probably should talk about maybe a little bit about the promotions we have going on too, because the 2014 is we're selling it because we want you all to enjoy this delicious wine. So please buy that. We have a great sale going on, and next week's Facebook Live will be about Chardonnay. So that will be the new staff pick, and we always do put those staff picks on sale, 6 or more bottles, 25% off for our wine club members. Major great deal. So come on down or call us or go online and make sure you pick up some of that too. So
And that Facebook Live is going to be Haley and Tyler, right? They're going to be telling us how to taste like a pro.
Yeah, which is totally fun.
Yeah.
Exactly. Being that they're such pros.
So you don't have to have the Chardonnay to taste with them, but that's what they're going to be tasting if you want to do it. So.
Yeah. Awesome.
What other promotions? I'm always bad with the sales stuff. Are we forgetting something?
I think we're good for now. We might do some more at the end, but we're good.
Okay.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
we should talk about the library then.
Look at these gorgeous wines. Wow. Yeah.
Well, yeah, so the library, the wine library, essentially we take a certain number of cases. It kind of comes down to what can we afford to save on a given year. We put them into nice cellar conditions like the room we're in, 55 degrees, and we save them for future use. Maybe that's study, sometimes Haley and we need to go back a few years and look at how our style has changed, check in on the wines, how are they aging, things like that. Sometimes it's promotion. We might show a wine writer some of the wines we've made in the past so they can get a sense of things like the age worthiness of the Snake River Valley AVA. And then the other really fun part is for our customers to enjoy later, which Donna knows way more about than I do. So what's our customer library program like?
Well, this is brand new for us, so we're so jazzed about it. We never were in a position before where we could actually have a library program. We just didn't have enough wine, but now we do. We've been putting aside a certain number of cases for a few years now. And as you can see, we have these beautiful Valentinas. In the tasting room right now, we are pouring 4 different Syrahs. And it's been so much fun to pour for customers and to just take everyone through those different Syrahs and show them. So just having a library program is really exciting, and we want to share that with all of you. So we hope you're all able to come in and taste these wines.
So how does one actually come in to get this library experience?
Yeah, well, all of our tastings right now are by appointment. That was due to the recent circumstances. So all you have to do is go online or give us a call. If you walk up and we have space, we're happy to accommodate you. But otherwise, to ensure you get that great experience, just give a call and make a reservation. I've been having so much fun taking people through the Syrahs recently and pouring those 4 Syrahs. We've got Foot Stomp Syrah 2014 versus regular 2014, and just having the customers taste the difference between those two is blowing their mind. So I have so much fun doing it. And
I recently came in as a customer with my friend Julie and did the library Syrah.
Yeah.
And it was quite fun.
It was intimidating for me.
Yeah, I only revisit these wines maybe once every 2 years or something. We'll go and we'll, every year we kind of do a vertical, but it's a different wine, so there's a lot to work through. So I really only taste any of my library wines every couple of years or something. So it's super fun when you guys are pouring it, because then I can sneak in and do it myself.
Well, one of the great things I love about library wines, and what I'm reading about library wines and really getting into it and trying to promote it and have it be a successful part of Center's program, is that it really represents a unique combination of the year and what Mother Nature has brought to the table, and it can never really be reproduced that same way again, so everyone is different. And that's what's fun, is to take people through that and to have them experience those different flavors and all those different profiles. So I know that we're going to be tasting the 2012, the 2014, and comparing that to the current vintage, the 2018, which you don't even have yet. That's coming out with your fall release in about a month or so. But as a winemaker, do you remember anything in particular about the 2012 and the 2014?
Well, I mean, I guess this is the point at which we can start to taste, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
let's do that.
Let's do it.
Wow. Yeah, so well, let's see. I have lots of things to say about vintages here in Idaho and stuff. And one of them is that because we are in the Snake River Valley AVA, we're in a kind of a high altitude desert here. We're way far away from the ocean, and that helps smooth our vintage to vintage variation. So other growing regions that are much closer to the ocean, they have way more climatic change on a year-to-year basis. We have some, and Mother Nature plays her part, and she often does tricky things to us. So no vintages are exactly the same, but we are able to produce a more even house style than a lot of the areas that are closer to the ocean are. So that's one of the advantages of being in a rain shadow in a more desert-like climate to make wine, is you have more even vintages. So the 12, the 14, and the 18 are all pretty close to average years for us in terms of heat accumulation, and we didn't have any strange events like a fall frost or anything like that to interfere with these. So this particular lineup that we have is a really good one for seeing the effect of time, not the effect of vintage. Sometimes when you taste verticals, you're like, oh, this is totally about the vintage, because you've got 3 different vintages that were totally unique from each other. But if you can get one like this one is kind of it's like an average year setup, then what you're really seeing is the effect of aging on the wines.
So we're comparing apples to apples, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of fun, and doing the other way is fun too. But and then 12 and 14, those are going to be hard years for me to recall very well, because they're the years that my babies were born, and I was still nursing during both of these these vintages, so not very much sleep. About all I can say about them is that they were both really great years, partly because I had 2 beautiful kids, and partly because they were just like your average Snake River Valley weather, which makes for great wine.
Well, I can say that you don't need much sleep then to make really great wine, because these are aging really well, really beautifully.
Thanks. Well, yeah, so I have my awesome cellar team that's actually doing the work, and I just have to, keep my stuff together long enough to give an order every once in a while.
So I'm in the tasting room, and I hear our clients ask all the time, what am I looking for in an aged wine? What are the components that I should be paying attention to? What is it that distinguishes an older wine from a younger wine?
Yeah, totally. That's the big thing about aged wines is, well, what do they do as they age? Is that really a good thing? And there's what's happening on a scientific level, and then there's what's happening that you actually experience as a taster. So on a scientific level, you have a whole bunch of different molecules banging around inside the bottle together.
Okay.
So you've got the stuff that the grape produced originally, and then the yeast come in and they chew through it and they produce a whole bunch of new molecules, and then we have bacteria do a second fermentation and they produce a whole bunch of new molecules. By the time you're done, you've got hundreds of different kinds of molecules within one bottle of wine. And so as the wine ages, those molecules bang into each other and recombine. They get larger and
Okay.
larger, and every time two smaller molecules combine into a larger molecule, that molecule tastes different
Okay.
from how the two smaller ones did. So with time,
Would you call that softening, maybe?
well, it does soften the tannins, but it also just produces more nuance. It produces more individual flavors. So,
Wow.
if you
Okay.
start, I'm just throwing out numbers here as an example, but if you start with 300 different molecules right at the beginning, right after fermentation, you've probably doubled that by the time you've gotten 10 years down the road. So you're getting more nuances, more flavors, more layers as you age. And then you were talking about the softening. That's kind of a lot to do with the tannins and how they modify. So the tannins do soften with time. So when we first release a wine like this 2018,
Okay.
so when you're tasting it, just think about the finish. In regards to the tannins, it's kind of wound up. It's pretty tight, and I know you guys out there in Facebook land don't necessarily have this wine because we haven't started selling it, but you'll get it in August when we release it. So
Yes, you will.
think about this then.
Yeah, yeah. And I see that. I see that there's just not the breadth of different flavors exploding in my mouth. It's a little bit more singular
Yeah, it's like
in the
one
flavor
note,
profile. Yeah, yeah.
one note of fruit,
Yeah.
big tannins, a
Yeah.
little bit wound up, kind of
Yeah.
tight. And then when we move into the 14, take it back 4 years, there's more nuance, right, in the nose.
Absolutely.
And the nose, the instead of being like this really clean, bright fruit, it becomes this more sort of sweeter, nuttier, earthier.
Earthier. Yeah.
So it's not like a fresh crushed raspberry in your mouth. You're starting to combine now dried fruits and nuts and a little bit of honey maybe. And so it does this sort of sweetening, richening process.
Kind of like a stew. I talk about this a lot in the tasting room, and you know, when you taste a stew that you just make, you can taste all the different individual components in a little one note, but if you taste the same stew the next day or the next week after you've continued to cook it down, that's kind of what it does to the wine. It ages it and those flavors meld.
Right, and
Yeah.
it just gets even more delicious, but you can't pick out those individual flavors
Right,
anymore.
right,
Like
right.
basil, you can't taste basil in spaghetti sauce after 2 days, right?
Are you my Italian mother now? You're absolutely right.
And then a kind of a significant, I think, softening in the 14 on the tannins,
Absolutely,
right? Much
yeah,
sort
yeah.
of more open and relaxed tasting wine.
And not as much of that cherry presence. I always get a big cherry note on this Valentino, which I love. And with time, that cherry just becomes more of a black cherry, a cooked cherry almost, a cherry compote.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that's a
we got a
great,
great question.
Yeah, we'll answer that in just a second here, just to kind of complete our tasting on the 12. I mean, I think the
Yeah.
12 is aging magnificently, so you're still getting pretty strong, vibrant fruit notes.
Yeah.
Um,
And for me, the fruit kind of turns into more of a raisiny or a pruny. It gets, a little bit more intense, not as bright.
Yeah. And acid levels don't really change in the wine, so your tannin softens, your flavors richen, become more complex, and your fruit starts to diminish, and these third flavors start to come out. Acid is kind of like, it doesn't go away, it doesn't do much. So whatever your beginning acid was, that's probably what it's still going to be like in 10 years. But if you don't have tannin and flavor and stuff all supporting around the acid, then you might notice the acid more prominently.
Okay.
But acid's very much related to that vintage. Was that an acidic year? If it was a cool year, you might have more acid. If it was a hot year, you're probably going to have less.
Okay. So it's just really going to affect the aging process. And for everyone's palate, it's different. I mean, some people prefer that flavor profile.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone's different.
If some people, like what I would say kind of generally is, if you love big tannic wines, go for hotter years. And if you love wines that are more sort of elegant and a little bit less brash, then go for the cooler years.
Okay.
So this 12, I mean, that year sort of came back to normal, but it's interesting because 9, 10, and 11 was a dramatic cold spell for us. And then 12 just kind of started to come back to more normal. And so we might be still tasting some of that residual effect of that cooling period.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the 11 and the 10, if you taste them in the vertical lineup, they are quite tart, but they're very elegant. They're lasting really well. So we had a great question from the audience.
Yeah.
It was,
How do you know? How do you know the best or peak time to drink a Big Red? Wow. Yeah. Well, we've got a little device here that could help you.
yes,
with
let's
that.
let's demonstrate
Yeah,
the Coravin, and
yeah.
then let's talk about what do you do if you don't have a Coravin.
And we're using this in the tasting room, and that's how we do our library program as well.
Yeah, so explain this to us, Donna, and I'll be like the person who tries to do it without spilling wine all over.
This guy, maybe? So basically, there's a needle, and the needle will plunge through the cork, and it will force argon gas down into the bottle. And then with that, when you need to replace that space with the gas, and the wine will come pouring out of the spout. So what happens is you're able to pour a wine without pulling the cork. You don't have to open your bottle. If you have aged wines, buy the Coravin. It's a little pricey, but it's worth it. Because you don't have to pop that cork, and you can taste it. And you say, like, how do I know when it's great? How do I know if I'm going to like it? Because everyone's palate is different. Because you might like it a little earthier, someone else might like it a little bit more brighter fruit. You taste it, and if you love it, then pull the cork. It's time for you. But you don't really know. And that's also the fun of wine. That's the joy of wine, is how it changes, and you just don't know what's going on in the bottle. You have trust, and you know that Cinder's wines are great, and you know that Cinder's wines are going to age, but to get the specifics, you just really have to taste it. So to have a device like this is it's a real privilege. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
the
so
nose on that is
that's how
beautiful.
we do all our library tastings, right? So we're not pulling a cork, and then if you come in on the third day, like the wine's, it's kind of oxidized or something. We're doing all of our library tastings with the Coravin so that you're getting a really pristine pour every time, a really good representation.
Yeah.
So that's the ideal way to figure out your library. Now, if you haven't gotten around to buying a Coravin, like most of us,
Yeah.
then I would say if the wine begins as a very darkly colored, richly textured wine, lots of tannin, lots of acid, all the stuff that makes a big red wine, then if it's well made, it should last into the 10 to 20 range. That's just kind of a good range for big red wines. If you want to sort of strike a balance between drinking wines that you love as fast as you can, but also having them show at the perfect time, I think 4 years is like the perfect time for that balance between I'm impatient, but I want the optimal wine. So I love something that's in the 3, 4, 5 year range. Those are going to have mellowed, but there's no possible way they're going to have diminished at that point.
I get it, yeah.
Which kind of reminds me of one question I get from people a lot is, well, what do they do? How do you know when they die or whatever? So a wine should never do something like turn into vinegar. That would be a problem with the closure, like the cork, if wine actually tastes vinegary. But as wines become really aged, they do diminish in their fruitiness and their tannins diminish. And so eventually, let's say like a 50-year-old wine, which would be a fascinating thing, and we should all try to age wines that long, at least a couple bottles.
Got to be young.
Yeah, I've tasted wines that old. They're still amazing, fascinating experiences, but most of your fruit is going to be, a 50-year-old, wine, you're not going to taste fruit. It's going to be things like nutty, honeyed flavors. At that age, it would be totally brown. You'd still have acid, but you'd have virtually no tannin. So it's something that barely even resembles a young wine like this. So it's not bad, but it's a totally different experience. So depending on your taste and how well you like aged wines, you're going to be super safe anywhere between like 4 and 10 years. And then beyond that, it starts to become a matter of preference of exactly how nutty, soft, mellow do you want your wine?
What your palate is. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I've had a lot of customers ask, well, I don't have a wine cellar. You know, I can't age wine. I don't have a library. What do I do if I don't have a proper cellar? I don't have the proper temperature. I can't have a library program. You know, what do we do? What do we recommend customers do for that?
Well, as far as I can figure, all of our customers have a closet.
Yes.
So the bottom of a closet in a bedroom, spare bedroom, is going to be totally fine, as long as it's not on top of a refrigerator or, you know, someplace that's really hot, like near a window that gets sun on it.
I've heard an interior closet is the best because you
Yeah.
have less variance of temperature.
Yeah, if you can just keep them from getting hot, then you really can do a good job of aging wine.
Okay, so
The-
yeah.
I mean, 55 is what we keep the cellar, but that's because we are trying to make sure that these barrels, which are like living organisms with the wine in them, which is a living organism, that we don't have microbes go crazy in them, right? But when they get completed and in the bottle, they're quite stable. Nothing weird's going to happen if you have them at 68. You know, your room temperature
Okay.
is going to be fine for aging for quite a long time. So I don't think people should stress about buying the really expensive, you know, refrigerators and stuff. The bottom of a closet's going to be good.
Great, yeah. So we have another question, and it's why do you store the bottle on its side? And that also helps us kind of age the wine as well. You
Yeah,
wanna
well,
address
so the
that?
cork, you know, the cork is a really spongy part of the bark of a cork tree.
I'm going to interrupt you for 1 second because that's also why the Corvin works so well, because it's such a microfine needle. When you pull that needle out, the cork reseals itself, so it's still a very stable stopper in the wine. So it's going to keep oxygen out of the wine.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about the cork is it's so spongy. It will reseal if you poke a needle through it, and also, I guess the reason you put it on the side is it does need to be moist. So having the contact with the wine by sitting on the side helps the cork stay moist. If you're aging beyond like the 6, 7, 8 year mark, then you definitely need to have it on the side so that it stays
Right.
moist.
So put it in the closet, but put the case box on its side. And I'm talking case box because here we are talking about this library wine program, and you know, library wines are priced a little bit more than other wines because we've taken the time to cellar them at the proper temperature. We've taken the time to make it be the perfect wine for the consumer. And you don't have to pay that cost if you buy the wine when it's young. So we're talking about this new vintage here, this 2018. This is coming out with your next, for our wine club members, it's coming out in just about a month and a half. And this is the time to buy the case because you put a few down, you put them aside, you hide them from yourself. If you have the patience.
Hide them from your spouse.
You do.
You mean,
you do.
yeah,
In
that's-
my house, I put them on the bottom shelf because my husband's really tall and he doesn't like to bend down. So, you know, there's all different tricks to keep these wines aged, but this is the time to do it. You think that a case is too much, but when you start thinking about a library program and you want to try one in 2 years, try one in 4 years, try one in 6 years, you're going to thank us in about 10 years.
Yeah, and that's a funny question, I think, is what extremes do people go to hide wines from their spouse?
That's a great question.
I have a couple cases stashed in underneath a staircase
Okay,
in the
but
most
Joe is
awkward
listening to this
place.
right now, so
It's-
don't.
He knows
don't
they're
do
there,
it.
but there's no way he's going to go and get them. It's so awkward. You have to crawl on your hands and knees through cobwebs and through a tiny little cutout door to get them.
It's
So,
where, it's
I
where we
love
get
it.
the Christmas.
I love it.
You'd
I
have to
love it.
pull out the Christmas wrappings, and then you'd have to crawl on your hands and knees under a stairs. There's no way
love
he's
it.
going to get them.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah. Let's see.
And there was another question too.
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
The oldest wine we've ever tried. What was it like?
Gosh, I'm so excited to do this because I haven't really spent a lot of time drinking really aged wines. Yeah, so.
Okay,
this
well,
is-
I can feel this
please,
one. So the coolest and oldest wine experience making ice wine was arguably the coolest wine experience I've ever had. But the oldest one I ever had was an amazing experience. I was in France. I was on a trip with some Coopers, barrel makers, and they lived in southern France. And when they built their home, they accidentally kind of punched through a hole and discovered literally a Roman cellar. And so they made it into their wine cellar, and you climbed down a ladder, and there was this amazing arched room down there. And they, of course, they're in the wine business, they sell barrels, so they collect all these amazing wines from their clients. And we had about a 40-year-old Chardonnay, and that was really
40.
fun, yeah.
And people do not think of white wines as having ageability. So
Right.
that's really exciting.
Yeah, and so, I mean, as far as aging white wines, you can totally age white wines. The thing is that evolution that I described, where it mellows and then it becomes so mellow that you barely can even tell it's wine, and it loses its fruit, but it's replaced by these sort of earthy, sweet, nutty flavors. That whole evolution happens in a shorter time frame with white wines. So if we're talking about 15 years, say, with reds, then with a Chardonnay, we're talking about somewhere in the 5 to 10 range. It's kind of hard to say depending on the wine, but it's quicker evolution, but you still get a cool product at the end of it. But for most of us, we don't have a taste for white wines, aged white wines. So it's not something that I necessarily recommend, because you are going to lose your fruit, and that fruit aroma is such a big thing with white wines. That's mostly what we're going for. Whereas with red wines, we like the tannin, you know, and
Yeah.
the rich texture and all these other things. So
Which you're going to get over time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bit more so. Yeah.
yeah, but so the Chardonnay, the 40-year-old Chardonnay, it was amazing. I mean, it was just like no other wine I've ever had, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being that old, but it tasted delicious. It was just something that I can't really even describe because it was so different.
Yeah.
If you ever have the opportunity to taste that, like if you're in Europe touring or something like that, I would totally go for a super old wine.
Yeah. Or come here to Cinder. I'm telling you, we really have some really amazing library wines that we're pouring right now. Those Syrahs are amazing. I'm happy to do this tasting for you. Kristen is here to do it for you as well. You know us. We love you guys. Come on in and spend some time with us and taste through these library wines.
And people can still buy these, right?
Absolutely, yeah. These wines are for sale. We always sell our library wines, but it is new for us. So, like I said, you know, a few years ago, we didn't have library wine. We just were in a position to sell them, but with time, we're able to put more aside. So it's very fortunate that we're in that place right now.
Yeah, and I think these are special at the moment.
think
Hi,
Joe.
Joe.
Hello,
Super,
Joe. How
sorry.
are you?
I'm great. I just wanted to ask, which one's 2012?
Right there.
This one.
It's when
12, 14,
Yeah,
18.
we're
12,
going in the
14,
order of the
When we
bottles.
became parents, when we got a son, huh? Pretty special.
Pretty special, yeah.
Yeah. And they taste pretty special too. So, yeah, we'll be changing out our library wine
Thanks.
program every 3 months. So you'll always have something different to taste in the tasting room, and we really, really encourage you to come down and try those. So, yeah.
Yep, and these are on sort of a special for the next week, right? And the staff pick is Chardonnay, so it's on a special as well. So
Yeah.
check out our website or come down for those.
And the new one, Wine Club, we have about a month and a half before we're releasing that one to you guys. So that's coming.
Thanks everybody for joining us live here in Garden City, and we'll see you next week at 5 o'clock on Wednesday for the How to Taste Wine Like a Pro.
Rowan, you're as
hey, buddy.
old as this wine. Smell it.
What does it smell like? It smells like wine.
Most powerful, huh? Wave to everybody. Wave bye.